All right.
This feels very
what were you guys
exciting.
just talking about?
Oh, how pretty Genia is and how she doesn't want to be here.
Oh, I like this conversation.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Hey, listeners. Ever wonder what it would be like to sell everything and travel the country at the tender age of 50? Well, with our last kid off to college and the ability to now work remotely, we've decided to do just that. So we're selling the house, loading up the dog, and hitting every city from California to Florida. We're scouring the country for a new place to call home and dragging you into every restaurant, Airbnb, and tourist trap we encounter along the way.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Skiptown All-Stars, another episode. This one is a very special treat for me personally, and it's a treat for Denise and I together because we are sitting on the deck of my good friend Russell Stemper and his wife Genia's house in Washougal, Washington right now. I hope you can hear the fountain in the background and the clear, crisp air all around us and the occasional patter of dog feet on their deck flooring. Thank you for having Denise and I and putting us up for the evening.
You're welcome.
Very happy to be here.
The house is just stunning. It's like something out of Town and Country magazine. We are so it's true. We are so lucky to be here. It's so beautiful.
For sure. And to paint the picture for the viewers, we are overlooking the Columbia River right now. Portland, Oregon is just down the way across that river. So we are sitting right at the edge of Washington State. Genia and Russell moved here about 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And are loving life. And I'm just thrilled, not just because we're here among you, but because you and I have worked together for so long. And I consider you one of my favorite producers ever. Aww. When I come in, when I come in to work with you. So let's just get into it. First, tell us a little bit about yourselves. Genia, you can go first because I know we have for everyone at home. Genia is a little bit of an introvert, so we drug her into this, it's actually she's doing us a huge.
Yes, I am.
She's doing us a huge favor to talk to us today. But we'll start with you, Genia.
Thank you so much.
Go ahead.
What do you want to know?
Tell us a little bit about your background, what you're doing now, your career, your kids.
I have a degree in journalism and I write remotely. I did novels for a while and now I'm doing educational writing. And we have 2 kids that graduated college about 4 or 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. They're both doing their own thing. And I love it here because we can live in the country and have access to the airport. That's my thing.
Yeah. So Portland, PDX is about 20 minutes from here.
Yeah.
Sort of as the crow flies, or is that with traffic or on
with
a bad
traffic,
day?
You're looking at
average,
45 minutes.
Yeah, on average.
That's still normal for
not bad.
anybody who lives outside of a city. Usually 40 minutes or 45 minutes is really normal to get to an airport.
Pretty desirable.
Yeah, it is desirable. That's like
and downtown can be 30 minutes to an hour depending on traffic, but
without traffic it's 20 minutes.
Yeah.
PDX is 20 minutes.
That's awesome.
Downtown would be more like 30, 35 minutes.
So to live in this beautiful secluded area, be so remote it feels and looks, and then to only be 20 minutes away from an airport.
Right.
Airport is pretty magical.
Oh, it's lucky. It's one of the reasons we picked the spot is because you could be close to a metropolitan city area and still have, have the comforts of the city if you want it, but we live in the country, which is quiet and peaceful and beautiful. So it's really kind of a rare thing. I mean, when we lived in LA, we lived in Westlake Village near Thousand Oaks. And so we kind of had a little bit of that once you got out of the valley, but you're still surrounded by hundreds of thousands of people.
It was crowded.
Yeah.
So
agreed.
This is this is quiet. When it's nighttime here, there's nothing but coyotes and crickets, pretty much. It's quiet.
Those are good neighbors.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, not being able to hear the freeway at night was just heaven for me.
Yeah. But being near an airport was important to you, and tell us why.
Well, when we decided to move up here, we were going to be empty nesters, and I was doing a lot of freelance work all over the country, flying for interviews for a talk show in LA. And so I wanted to be near an airport so I could fly. Mm-hmm. And then this is before the pandemic and everything, and before remote was cool.
Yeah.
So we were kind of gambling, I still I have a side production company, so I was doing some stuff locally.
Blue Turtle Productions. You're being so humble right now. Blue Turtle Productions. If you live in Washington, book them now.
You can go to blueturtlepromedia.com. Yeah.
Oh, what was it?
Blue Turtle Pro Media.
Okay, so let me say that again. blueturtlepromedia.com. He's being very humble right now.
Do you want to tell him what you'll get if you get Blue Turtle Productions? When we found it, that's why.
Oh,
no.
yeah. When we first started, it was Blue Turtle Productions, and there was a on YouTube when I first started the company.
Yeah.
There was also a nudist colony
Oh,
called Blue Turtle Productions.
You got to be kidding.
And no, I kid you not.
You got to
And
be
so
careful.
People
in my case,
people were commenting and said, I looked up Blue Turtle Productions on YouTube, but I got
A bunch of naked
people. I'm like, okay. So when I came up here, I established the LLC, Blue Turtle Pro Media. And so that's my thing. And I started doing a lot more, photographic work, stills and things like that. So I figured the pro media was a lot more expansive than what we were doing before. But yeah, so that's a little funny side story. But
so what's the correct name? Say it correctly.
Blue Turtle Pro Media.
There we go. Blue Turtle Pro Media. .com, right?
How much do we have to pay for this?
I know.
That's all right. I'll clean it up. Or not. Maybe we'll just let it roll because I really want to keep the nudist colony story in.
But we wanted a spot that was close to a nice airport. And PDX, I don't know if you ever flown through there or if anyone has ever flown through there, but it's a beautiful airport. It's very easy to get through.
It wins best airport in the country every year.
It wins best airport of the year every year. And the thing about the airport actually is everything that's in there is predominantly from Oregon. So you go in there, there's wineries, there's brew pubs, there's shops. Pendleton has a store there. Columbia has a store there.
Oh, nice.
And everything's priced as it would be in a local store. So people actually can go there and it's almost like a shopping mall. And they're renovating all the time. But anyway, that's a long story. But beautiful airport to get in and out of. Very easy. Fast. I fly Alaska Air all the time. They're based in Seattle and have a large hub here. They fly everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's a great airline. So that's one of the reasons. And so Genia, being the brilliant researcher she is, she kind of picked a 20-mile radius around PDX because we knew we wanted to either move to Seattle or Portland. We want to be in the Pacific Northwest. We love the green, the trees, and yes, it rains, but it's not as bad as everyone says it is.
Right.
Yes, it is. We don't want them coming. We're done.
Yes, it's horrible.
Now
California, go home. We hear that everywhere we go.
It's terrible. Do not move here.
Once you shut the door. That's what that's the rule. But anyway, so we picked a 20-mile radius around PDX. We like Southwest Washington. There's no state income tax here, so we were thinking for retirement funds, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Benefit there. Yes, Oregon has no sales tax on a lot of their not large items, but most. But that was negligible for us.
Right.
And then so we picked Southwest Washington. We picked a realtor. She showed us 5 or 6 houses, and we it's one of the times we just said, let's go for it. It's kind of like what you guys are doing. It's like we kind of followed our, usually I'm very pragmatic, so I've got to have, time for, to embrace things and plan it and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And she's the same way. She's very organized. And, but we kind of just said, it's the kids are going to be out of the house. We wanted to move. Let's do it. Let's just do it.
I have a question for you. With your job, do you ever have to be in the office? So when you were contemplating leaving Los Angeles, I know they fly you to do shows and do interviews, I should say. They fly you all over the country to do interviews with potential guests. But do you ever have to be in the office?
I did. And,
were you worried that, tell us how that works now that you're not in Los Angeles?
Well, I was a little nervous about it, but I knew that I was going to do my own production, and I knew I wanted to stay working for the company, but I didn't know if that was possible. So I met with the executives there, and I said, look, this is what I want to do. And there had been a person before that had started doing some remote stuff from the Midwest, and they said, we'll see if we can make it work. Yeah. And so it ended up being, I was traveling more than office work at first. Then the pandemic hit, and I was doing a lot of office work because no one was really traveling. And then it became kind of a hybrid of both. So to answer your question, it was a gamble. I mean, like you guys are gambling right now, but when you kind of just go with the flow, sometimes,
I think the only hard part for you was when you were, because it's freelance. And so, you get a call at 10 p.m. that says, can you be in Austin by 7 a.m. tomorrow?
Yeah.
For a
that's
shoot.
hard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot
So
of red eye
he's
flights.
scrambling,
Do this
you know?
tomorrow type
Yeah.
of thing.
And then because
Um,
they don't want to pay you for that second day, you're home at midnight. So you
That's
you're
true.
cram it all
I
in.
mean,
Yeah.
as an
Well, I
editor,
know.
we don't see much of that, obviously, where we are in an office or an edit bay, and that's where the console is. So we have to report to a place that's the same place every day, day in and day out, generally on a show. You being a producer, the migrant factor of having, especially working in the talk format and having to interview people all over the country, it's something that I've always envied. But then at the same time, when I hear producers talk about it, there's a little bit of me where I'm like, maybe I'm not so cut out for.
It's fun. I
that
mean, I
particular
think you
format.
have
It's a lot of
fun.
work.
You see a lot of different places.
The thing about it is, it's like a lot of times you don't have time enough to enjoy the area there. So you go to these beautiful cities,
Right.
and sometimes the airports start blending together because you're in and out, in and out. I've been to New York and back in 2 days, and then a shoot, and
Wow.
and you're wiped out for 3 or 4 days after that.
Right.
But occasionally I did, like when I went to New Orleans one time, I asked for an extra day on me. Just bought my flight and I paid for the hotel, and so I could spend the day in New Orleans.
Yeah.
So I occasionally did stuff like that. But I've met so many people from all over the country, and that really was the benefit of seeing different places, meeting different people. And we're all a lot alike, but there are some little idiosyncrasies and cultures and different things that you get to see that you wouldn't normally get to see unless you travel
Right.
all over the place. So that was the benefit, even though I lack of sleep, whatever.
I want to ask Genia. Okay, so when you and Russell talked about moving out of Los Angeles, and he said, "Well, I think I can do this. Let's try this." How did this conversation start?
That was my question.
Like, where did it even
What was
begin?
the straw? Because, okay, so just to reset the table, you were a news producer. You lived in different cities. You had come and gone as a family to California twice, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so you came back,
Mhm.
I assume willingly or wantingly.
Yeah.
And so
My parents lived in Santa Barbara, so
Okay,
we wanted to be
that's a big
close to
draw.
family with the kids being little.
Mhm.
They started to get tired of living there about the time our youngest was graduating
High school.
and
right.
high school, and Russell was coming home looking bedraggled, to put it nicely.
Yeah.
He
That
was
makes
he
sense.
was getting burned out.
Uh-huh.
So it was just like, let's go. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
It's because I wasn't enjoying sitting at a 3-minute stoplight when the store was really a block from my house, and
Oh.
it still took 10 minutes to get there. I
Yeah.
didn't get that.
Mhm.
I was like, what? I should have walked. But then you don't want to walk because it's maybe not safe. Like, I just didn't like it anymore.
Yeah.
So it's just time to go,
Okay, that's
So-
that's straightforward and simple. It was
Yeah.
time to go.
It was just
And you're
time
kind
to
of,
go.
like we talked about this last night, you're kind of a slave to your mortgage when you live in Southern California if you have a decent house.
Thank you for mentioning that, because we talk about that on our podcast. But being where we are now, like 3-4 episodes in, you're actually validating that, because
Mm.
it is so true.
You're a hamster on a wheel. It's
Yeah.
like, where
Yeah.
are we going? We're just going
unless
in
you're
circles.
riding the real estate wave and you're an investor,
Mhm.
you're stuck in that house and you're working to pay the mortgage. And we were fortunate to live just out in Westlake Village, just outside of Los Angeles, where the schools were great, the community was great, the crime was low, but you paid more for that.
Yeah.
And so I felt like I was a hamster on a wheel, making money to earn the mortgage, and we make decent money doing what
Yeah.
we do. I'm not complaining about that at all. And I'm in the DGA, which is a great organization.
Directors Guild of America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's been phenomenal for me. But after a while, you kind of feel like, what's the end game? Where's the end point? And quality of life has to mean something. The older you get, that more that means to you.
Yeah.
And the kids.
I wanted to be able to walk outside and hit dirt.
Oh,
That
that's
was
a
just what I
great
wanted.
That's
way to put
yeah,
it.
that was her big thing.
Yeah.
Mission accomplished from what I'm
Yeah.
seeing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you left Los Angeles, you were both ready. So how'd that feel landing here and settling in? Did you embrace it because you had wanted it, or was it an adjustment still?
No, it was never an adjustment.
It was surreal.
It was fantastic, is what it was.
She had it was surreal for me. And I don't mean to slight Southern California, but a lot of times down there, people don't, look at you. It's like everyone's got something to do and somewhere to go. Up here, everyone was extremely nice.
Oh my gosh, it felt like molasses. You go to the supermarket and you don't realialize that the cashier will talk to everyone for 10 minutes.
In length, yeah.
So you just
probably
got
knows
to
And you still had
everyone.
your LA timer, your internal
you just
timer.
got to get used to it.
You're
I'm like, is this happening? What is going on? But now we're just used to it and it's wonderful. I mean, I love that.
And they're very nice here, and it's, there's good and bad people everywhere, of course. But it's a very refreshing experience up here. Now, of course, a lot of Californians and everyone are moving up here, and they.
Oh no, they're gonna ruin it. We're all gonna ruin it.
But I mean, it's just a whole different vibe. I mean, it's much
But once
different.
you get used to it and settle in, then it's easy. Like you want to get your hair cut. Well, there's 1 or 2 people in town that do it, and you're gonna have to call 6 months in advance because they're booked.
Yeah.
You want to get your dog groomed.
Yeah,
You might as well just buy a razor from Amazon because it's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I imagine.
Wait, there's no mobile pet grooming places.
I think there was one, but it was like $350.
Wow.
You saw the little dogs.
Yeah.
I did that. That's why they look crazy. It's bad. It's bad. But they're clean. So,
So, well, I imagine, especially as a dad and, I mean, your kids were grown, right? At that point, were they both out of the house at that point? Or?
No,
one has graduated high school.
One was in college
Okay, that's
and
right.
one had literally graduated that day.
Graduated
high
that
school.
day.
Yeah.
So, but I imagine, like, for me, yes, it's great to make that leap. Like when I was packing up the car a month ago, this is fantastic. This is what we've been talking about for so long. And then as you're driving or traveling, there's a little bit of that provider thing in you that says, am I going to be able to sustain this family? Am I going to be able to, collectively, are we going to be able to pool enough money together to make this work? Tell me about that. Like,
that was a little more nerve-wracking for me because I had an opportunity. I met with some people in Portland and I was going to start a company together, and it didn't work out. But I was still freelancing for the show in LA. And so I know it was really weird because I'm really anxious about the income and the money and all that stuff like that.
Same,
but,
of
same,
course.
bro, same.
But
How could you not be?
But again, we kind of just rolled with it. I think.
Well, luckily we're at the age too where you are getting close to some people retire. Some people, so we're getting to that point where if the work starts to peter out, it'll be a slow journey to retirement.
Right.
That's kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, I think in production, we just get so, speaking of being a rat on the wheel, we get so amped up every day to just go do our job, do. And in my personal opinion, it's been nice having somebody, a significant other, who's like, no, this is not living. We gotta, like every time that I've been dialed back has been by my wife saying, no, you need to live a little, like you need to enjoy.
Right.
And
What's the
sure,
point?
we enjoy what we do. Yeah. Like I love the creative process and working in television and doing what we do.
Right.
But yeah, there comes a point where you're just taking a beating and it's not really, you're living to work at that point.
Right. And yeah, the same for her. I mean, she keeps me sane and she made sure that I didn't jump over the cliff, It's a lot. You take in a lot, and when you do the shows that we've worked on, you've seen the things that, the good and bad, mostly the bad in people, it could wear on you. And it's taken, and thank God for this area, I've been able to relax and kind of deal with that thing. And when you're in it, sometimes you don't always see it.
Right.
But, yeah, the mental aspect of it, I think, was as big a thing. But I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her. I wouldn't be in my career if it wasn't for her.
Yeah.
Genia.
Look at you
That's so
too on your little porch overlooking heaven.
That's so sweet.
So nice.
It's true.
That is sweet.
Okay, so Russell and Genia, I have to ask you, when you it's really sweet, isn't it? Was there ever a time, because you were on that hamster wheel and you were worried about coming here and that hamster wheel slowing down? I mean, she's like, let's embrace it. But honestly, I mean, you were the one on the wheel.
Right.
do you miss it a tiny, tiny bit? Like that rush, that adrenaline rush at all?
A little bit. I miss the camaraderie. I mean, even in today's world, we're not in the edit bays with the editors very much anymore. It's all virtual.
Oh,
I miss the camaraderie because I mean, when you go through the shows that James and I have worked on, it's almost like going through war in a certain aspect. I don't want to downgrade soldiers or anything,
of course,
but it's like going through a battle. And when you go through a battle with someone, there's a bond there. And so a lot of the people that I worked with, the other producers and directors and editors, I miss the camaraderie. I miss the social aspect.
Those were your friends. I mean, you get home from work and you didn't want to socialize because you were like, I was with my friends all day.
Yeah.
Well, when you work 12-hour days, it's inevitable.
Or 15 or 18.
Yeah. In your
I'm
case.
going to take that back because James works 12 hours days. You work 15 to 18. That is accurate, 100%.
Sometimes.
So
Not
my
every
mistake.
day. Not every
Sometimes.
day.
But you know, there are very long days when you're.
There were long days.
Yeah. And
he'd get home
Slept
at
in the
2
bay a few
a.m.
times,
and leave at
Yeah,
5
for sure.
a.m. I'm like, why did you even come home? Don't they have a couch?
I know.
Yeah.
But you do have a bond then with these people because
Yeah.
you've spent so many hours with them. I mean, you know about their families, you know about their hardships, you know so much about them.
Yeah.
That had to be a little challenging leaving that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
He missed everyone.
Definitely.
For sure.
Yeah.
But in many ways, the pandemic forced that hand on all of us.
Yeah.
It
you
would
know?
have.
That's a good
That's the
point.
irony. It's like we did something that 2 or 3 years later we would have been forced to do. We were lucky. In fact, for years before we left, we were trying to get the powers that be to let us do work remotely, because a lot of times when you're writing or producing or going through things at a desk, you can do that from anywhere. And
James had that same issue when he would ask his employers, can I work from home? I can edit this from my computer at home.
I mean,
They
my
all said
system at
no.
home was almost always better than whatever they were renting for
Yeah,
me.
right.
I mean, I'd get these, junky towers and slow performance on, their systems that they were renting, on a budget kind of thing. And meanwhile, I'd be like, I could have had this done already if I were at home.
Yeah.
Well, we lived about 30 miles from downtown LA. And it would take us, where most of my work was, it would take me anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half to get there.
So 3 hours in a travel day.
3 hours out of your day.
And
I'm
I
thinking,
started
I could be
worrying
writing
about
that.
car
I could be
accidents.
working.
Especially in
Absolutely.
your role. I mean, really,
Absolutely.
it's,
At night, being tired.
if you just had some sort of server like we do now, where you could just watch the footage and write your scripts and send them off to, editors and get them going. I mean, it's essentially your job. Like, that's how our relationship always was. I would hear from you at 9 a.m. and you would tell me, okay, this is on the docket for today. We're doing this, 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 and this. You have a script for this. These other two are coming soon. Get cracking, And so specifically in your, there could be an argument in my case where it's like you needed all the gear and we needed it all networked, and but in your case, I mean, I understood at a point when you had to be in the edit bay because it was just faster to get stuff out.
Right.
Yeah, but that's what, one day out of how many
right,
weeks?
Like the day before the show you
night,
should be there,
Yeah,
So, and I feel like it's important to differentiate to the listeners who don't know, television isn't just this mush where everybody does the same type of show and has the same type of schedule every day.
Or title.
Yes. So what we're talking about, my career was historically mostly reality television, where I had 6 or 8 weeks to go through,
Footage.
cards and cards of footage. And thanks. And so
I see you struggling.
And so, whereas you working in a talk environment, that's 5 shows a week, like bang, bang, bang. It's almost as if you're producing live television at that point. And so I think it's important to differentiate just why your 15 or 18 hours were building up the day before the show, and that sort of stress component, and how, what was the word you used that he came home?
Bedraggled, which is generous.
Yeah.
I mean, he was starting to look pale.
Yeah.
We got no
and
sun.
Kind of
He was
huffy.
Yeah, I mean, he was climbing a mountain
just
twice a
didn't look
week.
healthy.
So,
He didn't look healthy anymore.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is not, I was worried about his health, honestly.
Well, have you ever seen production people? I mean, all of them need.
Oh, here we go.
Right now.
They need vitamin D. Okay,
Yeah, we do
everyone
need vitamin
needs
D.
vitamin D.
Every editor
They're
I
all
know is
pale
anemic.
as hell.
Yeah. You
That's
two
so
aren't.
true.
No, you guys look good. See, you got out.
Yeah, well, we got a little sun this
Got
past week or
out-ish.
two, so that's
You know,
been good.
the disappointing part about discussing how it could have been. I mean, James and I have discussed how it could have been if they would have just listened. Like everyone could have worked remotely starting years ago. It's obviously disappointing, but then think about like the social aspect of it. Like you would have missed out on that.
Yeah.
So it's such a coin
It
toss.
is. I mean, I wouldn't be sitting at your house right now if
Mm-hmm.
you and I hadn't been buddies like all these years.
Yeah.
And, I was always excited. Okay, so I worked on the talk show just one day a week. I got extra union hours for it as an editor. And so for me, it was always just extra money for my family. So I would dip in one day a week, whereas you guys were like in the trenches 5-6 days, what have you. And but it was always a pleasure for me.
Which is why he thought he's like, James is the nicest editor I've ever worked with.
Well, that's very sweet. Thank you.
Because you had a good attitude, right? Because
I was fresh-faced coming in there every Sunday. I wasn't like everybody else who'd been going down, to the basement to cut stuff. So
well, we were always jealous of the editors though, because you had a 10-hour day, in and out, and when you're done, you're gone.
Yeah.
That is enviable, right? Is that the right word?
For sure.
I was telling James I used to direct newscast director early in my career, and I loved it because it was adrenaline rush, and I was good at it. But when the show was done, you were done. You didn't think about it.
Yeah.
Working on a talk show, it's like when you're working with different stories, it stays with you even after the show. But you stay with it every
especially
night.
some of the subject matter we've talked about. Denise brought it up a little earlier before we started recording, and so how was your on a particularly, say, grueling story or gritty story? How was
the children ones always bothered me the most.
How do you decompress from that?
Yeah.
Like how did you see him decompress, Genia? Like, did you ever?
So the day after a show, usually he had the day off, almost always, and we would treat it like a vacation day. It was usually a Tuesday or Wednesday, and we might run a few errands or go for a hike, and then we would get something really yummy to eat, and we'd sit on the porch and just relax. We were like, we had to take advantage. There was no such thing as, running around and just doing a bunch. I tried to make it so by the time he had his day off, the house was clean. There was food to eat.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Wow.
I tried to do that.
How thoughtful.
Well, I mean, because I wanted to see him too. Like, it was like a celebration. Oh, you're home. So that's what we did. And now we get to do that every day.
That's fantastic.
Pretty great.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what's happening now. So you moved here.
I have to say, I did think of this for empty nesters out there. It really helped to move. Because I was going to be so sad.
Oh, about what? About what?
The kids. They're gone. That was my life.
Aw.
Yeah, we were in the house.
I was going to be so sad.
11 years,
and
so it's
leaving was the best decision because we just created a new life, And they still come to visit, of course.
But you were kept busy by moving into a home, doing landscaping,
I didn't have to look at their
decorating, all that
bedroom
stuff.
that they'd had,
Oh, yes. You can decorate and make it a guest room for them when they come and not be their old bedroom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We just all kind of started over, and it's like it was just the perfect time to reinvent ourselves.
That's a great way to put it. Like
that
the
is.
perfect time to reinvent
How
yourself.
are your kids with the move? Because our story's a little similar because, Ellie had to pack up her entire life around the same time your son Gary did.
Yeah.
But he seemed better though.
He was
right?
angry. Yeah.
Was he angry?
Here,
Oh, let's hear it.
We had 3 months before he went to college. And
wait, let's go back to he was in high school when you moved. Let's talk about
so
that.
He didn't even walk because we were like, well, actually we're leaving. I think we left on his prom
He didn't want
day.
to walk. He didn't really care about it. But
He didn't really care,
He was mad
but-
because he didn't get to spend his last summer with his friends.
That's what.
in high
So
school.
when we
Right.
got up here, he was
He was angry.
So we flew in one of his friends for a couple weeks or
That
a
was
week
nice.
or whatever. But I mean, he was pretty pissed.
He didn't care about moving. He was okay with that, but he just wanted to spend the summer with his friends.
Yeah.
He was like, "You ripped me away from."
Wasn't
my
there
fa-"
anybody
But
that
you
he
know
could have
what?
stayed with? Like
I said, all we did was speed up the inevitable. It was going to happen. And honestly, what are a bunch of 17-year-old kids going to do in the summer that's good?
I think if he were here, he would
Yeah.
disagree with you.
I think
But
he
he's
might
a-
be like, that's
You're
accurate.
doing community service, Mom.
That's accurate. Yeah, right.
If you asked him today, he'd probably say he doesn't care about it anymore. But back
Right.
then,
It was important
it
to
was a
him.
It was
big deal.
hard.
Yeah.
It was an adjustment for him. I think everyone else was thrilled with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
But-
daughter had
and
no
he
problem.
came around, he loves the house. He thought it was beautiful out here. So he came around. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
kids. I mean, if we had stayed, he would have been miserable too. Because the friends would have been going on vacation.
Exactly.
You know, you just
Yeah.
can't win.
Yeah.
You just have to do. Sometimes you have to do what's right for you, and the kids will follow, and they'll figure it out.
And you did what was
Sorry.
right for the kids for so many years. So this was the
This was for
time.
us.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then he went off to college, and Anica was already in college. So
She was in Alaska when we got here, right? Yeah.
Your
She
daughter
went up
Anica
there
was in
just-
what
just
year
to,
of college was she in when you moved? Or was she already
was a
graduated?
sophomore.
Okay.
But
So you had-
so her last year in college, she just kind of scooted around. She went to Alaska for a while in the summer, and then she went to Europe, and then so this was her home base. But she really never. She doesn't.
She was
thinks-
traveling. She was in
yeah,
college, so it
she did
didn't
her
much
thing.
matter where you lived as long as she
Exactly.
could come
right.
back.
And she
But
loves
she
this
loved it
area.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now she's up in
How could you not?
the
I mean,
islands off of Seattle, so
Yeah.
she just loves it.
Yeah.
So
that
could
was
you
fine.
ever imagine going back?
No. In
We
fact, I
actually
went
drove
back.
back recently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When two stories. I had a job working for a city down in Southern California, and so I flew down there, and I said, "What the heck? I'm going to go by the old house just to see what it's like." Very emotional for me because I hadn't seen it since then. But what was good is it's one of those things you say you can't go back.
Yeah.
Like they had let the yard go, and it just and the neighbors had kind of moved, and it wasn't the same anymore. So it was like it just felt like we did make the right decision. you
Wow, they
know?
let the yard go?
Yeah, it was
Isn't that-
about the time that people
It was
started.
the drought. I mean, what are you
Yeah.
gonna do?
But it was emotional. But then we went back a year ago,
Mm-hmm.
and it was one of those Southern California 95-degree days, and
Oh my gosh, we
and-
couldn't wait. And we tried. We're like, let's just go to the beach, go to our old stomping grounds,
Yeah.
right? The beaches that we loved, that were for the locals. And
Yeah.
let's go there. Couldn't get to them. There was no parking. There
Couldn't
was
find a parking
it was
spot.
So
It
was
crowded.
So it was
packed.
like the universe was telling you you
This
made
is
the right
not-
decision.
yeah.
Like
I think so. Yeah.
because
There's
if
a
you
time and
found
a place
parking
for
right away,
everything.
your house looked great. Like you'd be like, why'd we leave?
Right.
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, fortunately we've been in places that matched the stage of life we needed. Like when I was in affiliate news when I first started, like I mentioned before. So we were in Tucson for a couple of years. We were in Indianapolis for 4 years. We had my daughter in Tucson. We had my son in Indianapolis, and we lived in a neighborhood in Indianapolis where everyone had small kids. It was a nice little community and Midwest values, and it fit that time of our life. And then when the kids were a little older, we wanted to move back to California to be closer to family. So we moved back, and everything.
And we wanted a more diverse community for them.
True.
To be fair.
To be fair.
That was a big part of
yeah,
it.
family and be back to
And to be exposed to
California.
different things and different people.
Yeah.
You know?
In LA, it definitely offers that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was different. Everything's kind of been a different chapter of what we needed.
Yeah.
And we were fortunate enough to
That's
make
the
that
thing.
happen.
It's if life isn't working for you, it's on you to figure it out and do something different.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think it's just exclusive to LA. I mean, I think there are plenty of people living in places right now where the job is a grind. Everybody has work issues, and it can be a grind, especially when you're deep, like 15, 20 years in, and you're like, oh,
right.
this is getting stale, but I have
Mhm.
to do this because this is what I'm good at. This is how I make money.
Right.
But then when play becomes a grind as well, you just talked about getting to the beach, and
Yeah. Couldn't even do it.
when work and play both become a grind, it may be time to look at another place. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
That's
It's
a
like
very good
Yeah.
point.
you need one or
Yeah.
the other or both, to be
Right.
And
sort
I
of
think it is
balanced.
an age thing too, though. I think because when you're 20 something, LA is amazing.
It really is.
You have everything there. You can do anything.
You don't mind all
day.
the other stuff.
You don't mind all this.
You don't
stuff.
mind sitting in traffic for 45 minutes to get to the beach and then an hour and a half to get home. You don't mind looking for a parking spot and circling. You're right. Because you have all the time in the world when you're 25.
Right. And
Right?
you love, the weather's obviously amazing. You love being around the entertainment industry and all that thriving
Totally.
stuff. But then you get older and you realize, what do you really want? What do I want now in this stage in life? I want peace and quiet. I want green. I
Yeah.
want,
And you want the ability to say, to stand up at your desk and say, okay, I have to be at back to school night, and it's going to take me an hour and 20 minutes on the
Yep.
405.
Yep.
So now I have to leave. So now I'm the guy
Sorry,
leaving.
I gotta leave at noon.
I'm
guys.
the guy leaving
Exactly.
the office early, and everybody's looking at me as I pack up my case and
Yeah.
walk out the door, And
Yeah,
so I don't. That's the part I don't miss. I would be sitting on freeways just, sweating it out, stressing that I just need to get to this on ramp, and then I know the side street and I can get to my kids XYZ game, back to school night, like I said, you name it, and to be there for your family with all those sort of literal roadblocks in your way, and to have that removed is, super exciting for me. Like Ellie's going to be playing volleyball, or Mia will be in Utah, or Parker will be in Texas. They're just a flight away from me now, and sure, there's a distance there or what have you, but the ability to say I can work all day and go out and meet my daughter for dinner if I'm in another city. There's
That's
a lot of
incredible.
inspiration that comes from.
We talk a lot about Los Angeles because that's where we're from. That's where Russell and Genia came from also. And so we'll relate our stories to that. But there's a Los Angeles for everyone in any city, like wherever it's a
Any
grind
large
for
city,
them.
but pretty much.
Or even just, it could be whatever your grind is. Like you said it best, like whatever your grind is. And you said it best at, it's, I'm not quoting you because I'm going to get it wrong, but basically if you're in a situation, it's on you to remedy that situation.
If it doesn't work for you anymore,
Yes.
do something different.
And you can live in the
Life
middle
is short.
of Podunk, and what's happening there could be something different. Maybe it isn't traffic, but there is a grind that's keeping you from being
the
happy.
meth lab next door.
It is the meth
It's
lab
really
next
getting
door.
you down. You gotta
Yeah.
leave.
It is the meth lab
Yeah.
next door. So what is it? Like, what is it that you can make a change? And sometimes a location can be the perfect change.
I mean, look at where you guys are now. So we talked about you being 20 minutes from a major airport.
Right.
It's not as big. So Portland is not as big as,
A JFK
Seattle or Chicago or New York or LA, but it's a decent sized city. And it's right. Like if you really want that nightlife, you can be there in 20, 30 minutes.
Right.
The same amount of time it would take you to get halfway to Hollywood if you were
Exactly.
meeting friends.
Exactly.
And
Right.
so
for her to get to Topanga Canyon. I mean, honestly.
well, yeah,
it's
for
like-
you guys, forget it.
Yeah.
But just to have that ability, maybe the answer for some people is just a decent mid-sized city with an airport where they can still access their family across the country. And like you're living in what most would perceive to be the countryside, a very
Right.
rural environment. It feels to me, and hearing you talk, it feels like you guys have found the sweet spot for yourselves.
For us, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah.
Anything you would want different?
If we had done this 20 years ago without Amazon, it would have been harder. Now it's like you need something, you order it, it still gets here the next day, even though we are pretty rural.
Yeah.
It's usually, really fast.
And we
'Cause
don't
I
own,
don't
we don't own
enjoy-
Amazon stock, by the way. So.
No. But I mean, I
No,
don't
it does make a
enjoy
difference.
traveling for an hour to pick up one thing that I need. I'm just not going to do it.
Right.
And so
You'll do without.
Exactly.
I know.
And so now that is kind of a luxury that, it really is.
It's a blessing
I
and a
agree.
curse.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you have to just be like, do I really need this? Because it's just so easy.
Well, now I know why you chose the no income tax over no sales tax, because you're fine going without.
It's true.
That was a smart call.
And the funny thing is about the Pacific Northwest, both Costco and Amazon are based in Seattle. And
Yeah.
and so if we order anything, it's really weird how fast we get it.
I
I mean,
Oh.
it'll be here tomorrow sometimes if I want it.
Yeah.
That's a very good point.
Yeah,
You're
it's,
right.
It's crazy. The distribution of Amazon and Costco both on Costco online too, is extremely fast up here.
So you really just have heaven. Let's just say it. You're just in heaven.
Well,
Oh,
their own
yes.
slice for
But-
sure.
But I mean,
Spend a
I
couple
haven't
winters with us,
had-
but
I like to cook, but I haven't cracked the code on good Chinese food.
Okay.
So we haven't had Chinese food since we've been here for 7 years. We just because there's
some
nowhere
things you have to give up. I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
like that's just how
Yeah.
it is when you move to certain areas. Like
Mhm.
you're going to be hard pressed to find good.
And I could,
Indian
if I
in some
really cared,
places.
I would figure it out. I was telling James I bought a pizza oven just because we missed really good pizza.
Uh-huh.
So I'm gonna have to figure it out myself.
Yeah, you are.
So there are some things, but I
Yeah.
also started baking bread, which I didn't do that before. But that's also kind of pandemic
Yeah,
stuff that
totally.
a whole bunch of people started doing stuff like
Yeah.
that. So it's just that I started 5 years earlier.
yeah, the
did when
pandemic
we
added
moved
a
here.
whole new level.
So when people were upset about the pandemic,
You were like, you already live in it.
Kind of like,
I've
I know,
already
we're
done
already
it.
there. Yeah.
We're good.
Because you're pretty quiet at home. You don't
Yeah.
socialize a ton. So you
Not
were
a
really
lot.
like already had been living that quiet hunker down lifestyle
why is
before
everyone
2020
complaining
hit.
that they have to read a book? Like, it's my favorite thing to do.
That is a very good point.
Spoken as a true author.
Yes, yes.
Well, so I do want to mention that, you know, I mean, I have to admit a little bit of envy when I would see your posts on Facebook with your drone. So you became an FAA licensed drone operator.
Yeah.
And I would say, yeah, about when you first moved here 5 or 6 years ago, I would see these things pop up in your feed that would make me jealous. The scenery was so gorgeous, and
He would talk about it.
I you know,
To
I was
me.
like, oh my gosh, I'm like, this guy. And you and I talked about, we knew one or two other people who had sort of gotten out of, you know, LA, specifically in our own circle, who were trying to make it work in other cities with varying degrees of success. Some of them had to come back, you know, but
That would be hard.
yeah,
Oh, I would
it
think
was,
so. I would definitely think so.
the technology wasn't there for us yet. The allowance by our employers wasn't there yet, you know,
Yeah.
with everything, how everything's changed. But
Right.
yeah, I mean, I give you a lot of credit. It's you kind of decided to do that thing. And, you know, you had your production company before, correct?
Yeah, I started that actually before I started the talk shows industry. I was a newscast director for many years, and then I worked for a station as an operations manager. I was doing the promotions and commercials, and they switched to Spanish, and they simulcast, so they laid everybody off.
No habla inglés, huh?
No,
No habla español.
but
No, you speak a lot of English, honey.
I speak a
I
lot
know
of
I
English.
said it backwards.
Yeah. Anyway, so we had bought all this equipment to start my production company, and then I got a call from a friend of a friend, a producer, and I started a new job, you know, working for a talk show as a producer. So it all kind of coincided. So when I wasn't doing the talk show stuff, I was doing my own production.
So you were still doing it throughout the time you were in California as much as possible?
Yeah, during hiatuses and things like that,
Okay.
and work breaks and things.
What were you producing?
On
Yourself.
myself.
With the production company.
I did commercials,
Like local business commercials?
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of the early stuff for social media.
Government stuff for health.
A lot of
right?
government stuff for emergency services.
We should wait for the Coast Guard.
That's very apropos.
Oh,
Is it the Coast Guard?
okay. That's
it's
pretty
probably a
incredible.
Blackhawk.
Okay. What is it?
I think it's the Army.
Okay.
We're in a. Yeah.
So not
You'll see
only
in a- there you go.
oh, there he goes. Oh yeah, it is the Army. So not only is Washougal beautiful, it's also very safe.
Those are
There's two of
Apaches.
them. There's two of
They're
them.
Apache helicopters. Wow.
Joint Base Lewis McChord is about 80 miles north.
Okay.
By Tacoma, or no, by Olympia.
Olympia.
You probably passed it.
Yeah.
But they'll fly Blackhawks like right on the deck, right across our house
that's
all the time.
awesome.
It's
Nice.
Okay, we
crazy.
couldn't have planned that any better.
No, we couldn't.
Literally.
We couldn't. I wanted to stop, but we're gonna go.
So continue, Russell. You were doing government. What
yeah,
type of government work were you doing?
Like emergency services for counties and cities and stuff like that.
Commercials on television.
Those were
They're
more.
informational.
Yeah, those were more
Oh.
informational. So
Oh,
it's like
okay.
we would do an exercise. They would do an earthquake preparedness thing.
Got it. And
So
they
we'd
would
do
the
we'd
employees
simulate
would
an
see
earthquake,
Okay.
and they'd be the fire and response from emergency services. So I would tape that, put it together, and for demonstration purposes. So I did a lot of stuff like that. I've done corporate videos, for PR and different things. I've been fortunate to do a lot of things. I was telling James, I worked with the sheriff's department down in Southern California, and I was able to fly in a helicopter
Yeah.
and
Oh.
go on rescue missions, just all kinds of different stuff.
Yeah,
That's
when you
great.
did the helicopter over the fire, that was a little
Oh
scary.
yeah, I got a phone call. Do you have time for a
You could
short
feel
story?
the heat.
Yeah,
you
we
could
wanna
feel
hear
the
it.
heat. I'm like,
I got a call. It was my day off, and I was buddies with the guys on the search and rescue, and so they also did the airdrops for the fires.
Oh wow.
And so he called me and said, "Hey, there's a fire just over by your house. come here, meet me at the
I'm
landing
worried
spot.
the house is going to burn down, and he
he's-
goes for a joyride.
Meet me at this landing spot. So he goes, come over to this, where they had the fuel and landing set up. I go over to my camera, my gear. I just scramble, get my gear together, run over to this place. It was like a mile or two from my house. And he lands, and I get in the co-pilot seat. It's just him, basically. It is just him. And so we take off, and there's this fire just outside of Thousand Oaks in the mountains there in the forest. And so,
Is this even legal?
what
you did there?
Oh God!
I don't want
I think everybody
to hear this and figure out like what's the company that took him up in the.
I think we're fine. Go ahead,
Okay.
Russell. Continue.
You can cut it.
So the first thing we did was flew over Lake Sherwood and dropped down and fill the helicopter up
With
with
water.
water. And as we're lowering down, I look over, and those huge helicopters that look like grasshoppers, kind of, that carry the buckets. There's one next to, like, all next to us, just like this is like a war zone, right? They're dropping next to us, and it's like surreal. And I'm swinging around. This is the day before HD, so I had an old, it wasn't old, but DVC Pro camera, and they're much bigger. And so I'm trying not to hit anything as I'm shooting around. And then so we pick up, we fill up, we pick up, and we're going down these canyons. And this guy was a former, I think there were several pilots. One of them was a former Vietnam pilot. One was a former FBI pilot. So we're dropping into these canyons, and the part that she hates is that the smoke. These are old, these are Vietnam helicopters that have been repurposed. And so we're going down these canyons, and the fire is, you can feel the heat on your feet.
Wow.
And the smoke is kind of coming through a little bit of the cracks in the helicopter while he's dumping water on these fires and putting out the thing. So you see it on TV or a newscast, but you don't.
But to be in it.
To appreciate the skill set that these guys have and the danger they put themselves in.
I did not realize that those pilots were like ex-military. I honestly thought they were just trained pilots by the fire department. That's something new I just learned right now.
No, most of them. I mean, I think one guy was. I can't say too much because I think it'll give away this.
I don't understand
detail,
how
but-
they were in Vietnam with the ages. What are we talking about? Do you mean like Afghanistan maybe or something?
No,
How? What?
he
But look,
was.
it was how many years ago though? The guy was probably. I mean, how many years ago was it?
Yeah, that's a
And
good
So you've
then
been
point.
maybe
doing
the
it
guy
a long
was
time,
60.
kinda.
Yeah.
I mean, no, that could like right.
work?
I don't know. We'll have to figure it out.
Doesn't
my
sound
uncles.
right.
He was in his 60s at the time. This was,
okay. So
Yeah.
he was older. And
He
it
was
a while
older.
ago. All right.
Yeah.
I accept.
But anyways, it's just like
Just
You didn't believe? Would you think he was 100
getting
years
like
old?
live fact checked here on your
You
story.
have to
I know.
live fact check. He was a
Well, I
100-year-old
heard it. It
pilot.
must
The
be
years
true.
don't add up.
no, but most of them have a background in either police force or
The military.
military.
I did not know that. I honestly
Yeah.
thought that those were those helicopters that drenched the fire with water or the chemicals that they throw on it were trained by the fire department. I did not realize they could be.
Well, I can't
ex-military.
speak for all of them, but
No, I know.
the ones
Yeah,
that
yeah.
I've known,
That's very
have been,
interesting.
Yeah.
That
I mean, the
makes
military.
sense though, because they have to go in and out quick, and they have
Yeah.
to be very accurate in what
Yeah,
they're doing.
where else are you going to get the training that you need for a similar situation? you
I've
know?
always said that the military should have a better exit program.
Yeah.
Because you have always people that have always fine skill sets,
Agreed.
and they get out and they're looking for work.
Yeah, they're just like
But a lot of these guys, I mean, they'd be great at a lot of these skilled positions of slight danger.
You're
yeah,
right.
Because they're used to that type of thing.
Yep, that is true. Wow, that's a great story. So,
Long, convoluted, but
not at all. So you jumped out of that helicopter when it landed and ran home and was like, "Oh my gosh, guess what I just did?"
yeah. And I was happy and excited. She was very
nervous.
angry.
They gave him a flight suit for that. Wasn't that the day?
No,
he's-
see, the team gave me a flight
he
suit that I
still
wore.
has it. No, he uses it when he works on the car, and it cracks me up every time.
Aw. Do you look
That's
like Tom
awesome.
Cruise?
You're a little bit more, yeah.
Yeah,
Of course I do.
he's much more handsome.
That's right.
Oh.
Oh, that's a great story.
Yeah, but we've been able to do a lot of different things, and I think one of the things when I first started in TV was to try to learn as much as I could about everything. And I always tell kids when I talk to them today, and they ask me about careers, it's like learn everything that you can, because even if you're not going to do that, it's going to make you have more respect for that person. I know how to edit, so I have a lot of respect for James because I know how much better he is than me, and how it's his forte. I'm a photographer, and I've always been a still photographer and hobby, but I was a news photographer first, and when I first got in the business, so I know how to shoot and I know angles and lighting and stuff like that. So that helped me in my production company. So the more you can learn about the different things, you have not only respect for the people around you, but you can, like, as a director producer, I know if I'm asking someone to do something, what it entails, how hard it's going to be, or how easy it's going to be.
Right.
So that's a huge thing for me, that I've learned.
That's great advice. Honestly, I've heard that from more than one person, successful people who've said things like something as simple as, I ran the lighting for this little tiny advertising agency when I was in the mailroom. They needed an extra person to help out. And I did that, and I did it more than once. And literally now they were working on Jay Leno doing lighting, like stuff like that. Like, in Podunk nowhere. I mean, Jay Leno's obviously not on the air, but do you know what I mean? Like they did stuff like that. So that's great advice. And I don't know. I don't know if people really do that. Some people think they're beneath certain things, and they don't do that. They won't do that.
Well, I was watching the thing the other day. It was the Rich Eisen podcast on YouTube, and he was interviewing Terry Crews, the actor, and he said, "Well, how'd you get into acting?" And he said, "Well, he was a security guard." And forgive me if I mess this story up, Terry. He was a security guard.
He's listening.
He was.
Genia's gonna.
You don't think he's listening to our podcast right now? Okay,
she's gonna fact check you again. Go ahead.
Terry's totally listening.
He was a security guard on movie sets, and so he started meeting people, and then one of his jobs was to look after Ice Cube's car on set when he was doing Friday? Was it next Friday?
I think it was next Friday.
Next Friday was a sequel.
Yeah. It was the first one.
Friday.
Okay, Friday.
So he was doing Friday. So he was looking after Ice Cube's car, which was a simple job, whatever. But then the dog's barking in the background. But then when next Friday came around, Ice Cube or somebody had known, saw him and knew him, and they put him in the next movie. And just because he was a security guard on the set, so even if you're not in, like you're saying, not in that profession, just getting yourself around that profession and learning more about it, sometimes
lead to different things. Yeah.
How many times people say, "Oh, I saw him because he was in a certain area, or he was a PA, and so I made him that works in our industry all the time. He was a PA on this, so he gets to be on this. It's a step up this.
Yeah,
it's not saying no and just trying to do as much as you can."
Yeah, for sure. So now for our, say, either younger listeners or professionals that want to start their own production company, have always had the itch to do that. Can you just take me through sort of your approach on trying to score a job, a gig? Like, how do you?
Tough. The thing.
Let's ask Genia that question, because I think she was helping a lot in that area, weren't you?
No, it's the pounding the pavement thing is the toughest. As a creative people, we're not the best marketers of ourselves.
True,
because we're not. We don't put our say, "Oh, I'm the best," blah 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 out there. It's really hard. I'm really fearful of people now that have to do it, because everyone with a cell phone thinks they're a camera guy. Everyone with a iMovie thinks they're an editor. Yeah. So it's really and people don't care as much about quality anymore.
No, they just need 15 seconds and a gimmick.
And TikTok has totally obliterated quality. It's a great platform for a lot of people, but it's obliterated comedy. So I don't know
Good luck to them. That's what you would say. Good luck to you.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard right now.
I think a lot of times you have to do spec stuff. A lot of times you have to put stuff out there on YouTube, show your quality. The pandemic killed a lot of the local business. I know it did for me as well, because I worked with a lot of corporations that, during pandemic just didn't do anything. And now the budgets are all kind of reassociated. Zoom killed a lot of things for live feed production, because they, why pay for someone to come in with a lot of equipment when you can just do it on your laptop, Right. So, but I guess to answer your question, in today's world, I don't know. Learn as much as you can, do as much as you can, and I guess promote yourself on all your platforms. Yeah,
just always be putting out content, and wherever you can find it, kind of thing. I suppose is the answer. Like a lot of people
trade. You got a lot of jobs by accepting trade.
Yeah, early on it was
even now. Sometimes there's a little bit of like, well, you don't want to pay this much. Okay, I'll accept this much in trade. And I'm going, really? Now we got $500 worth of beer.
That works in the
Sounds
in the
great.
restaurants and pub aspect.
But you
of
have
it.
to do what you can do. I mean,
Right.
to get your stuff shown. I mean,
Right.
that I know what.
And it's being nice to everyone is a huge thing, because I've gotten so many jobs because someone doesn't have anything right away, but they defer me to the other person. Like I've done things for cities, and then the cities have, maybe the husband of somebody that you worked with is a PR person for this thing, and so I've gotten
that's
jobs
great.
that way. So especially if you're in a smaller community, be nice to everyone, because you never know who's going to know who. Don't talk crap about people. Just try to be nice to everyone, because you never know what your next thing's going. I mean, I've been in situations where I'm like, oh God, what's my next job going to be? And then I'll get a phone call from a friend of a friend.
Yeah.
And you just never know.
Right.
But I want to. That's very helpful, and I think that would lend itself to a lot of young people who aren't sure where to start. Like, yes, like maybe go to your local businesses. Do a trade,
yeah, I mean,
or
doing little tricky videos on TikTok and all the other platforms is great, and it can
It's
certainly
90
be a
seconds.
springboard. But there does come a point where it's like you want to try and track down paid work. You want to catch a restaurant that needs a spot, or there comes a point where you have to evolve. Otherwise, you're just some.
You have to be
dude.
willing to put in it's like the old your feet have to hit the pavement, and you have to go in and introduce yourself.
Yeah.
And tell people what you do.
And
And
do
you
the
can't be
actual-
afraid to do that.
Yeah.
And that's hard.
It is, for sure. And I think especially I can only speak to my kids, like they hate picking up the phone to call
yeah.
I tell my older daughter, you're going to have to call the DMV to get this sorted out. You just moved to another state. She's like, and 10 days goes by, and I'm like, you're going to get popped for having an out-of-state license that is expired,
Mhm.
and finally she did it, and she texted me. But it is generationally, obviously, it's just quicker.
Right.
They've actually trained us to text.
Right.
Like my kids, I know if I want a response from my kids quickly, I'm
text.
going to text them.
Yeah.
So they've totally trained me. I've been reverse engineered.
It comes down to sending an email to introduce yourself, sending links to your work, then going and talking to them in person. Hey, did you get that email? And then following up with another email. It takes.
Tenacious, yeah.
It does. And sometimes you're probably going to irritate someone, but when someone says no, he's like, we're done. Like, he doesn't bother them.
Right.
But you do have to, because people, oh yeah, no, I got your email. I'm actually really interested. But he never would know that if he didn't go see them or call them.
Right.
Because you're not people don't realize the power and importance of a video or some type of presentation until they see it. And so you really have to
it's very true.
You have to keep talking to them and keep doing it. And once I have so many clients, once you do a video for them, they're like, wow, this is really great. I'm glad we did this. But just
because now they're visualizing their business, like you just presented someone else's to them.
But most businesses, it's a low priority because they have so many bills above that. They got employment, they've got, food or whatever the case may be, to pay for. And so they're not thinking, I need to pay such and such money to have a video to advertise on Facebook or,
they probably
YouTube.
think it's a luxury when in actuality it's a necessity.
It really is.
I think so.
I know I'm speaking because we're in video, but it really is. I mean, because where else can you get a short blurt of visual, especially if you're talking like food or clothing or vacation spot or whatever, rather than, if you see a cool aerial shot of a drone shot over something that looks really enticing, you're gonna want to go there.
Well, look, you found this place. Genia found this place because of a video from the city. Am I correct when you said that you saw it was a local person probably shot
this is
it?
a great story.
Yeah, and you saw. So tell us how you found this.
They were hired
area.
by the city, and it was on YouTube. Well, I found the city because it was a certain distance from the airport, and that looks small. It looks, charming. So I just, you just go to YouTube and you type in the city name, and this video popped up that the city had hired someone to produce.
So
And
that's, right now we're
that
talking
made
about
me
this.
Move here.
Yep. That video
Yeah.
actually made you move
Yeah.
here.
Well, it made me go to realtor.com and then look at all the houses,
Right. But if the city had not done that video,
it was the first domino.
that's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
You're like actual proof that it works.
Proof. It
and then
works.
ironically, I end up getting
to
hired
finish
by
the
the
story.
same city to update the video. Which is
Yeah. Yeah, that's perfect.
Wow, isn't that weird? The video that got you here, they now have Russell's new
And
video.
then my voice is on it. So there
Look
we
at
go.
you.
Oh,
too.
Genia, stop it.
And you didn't want to do our podcast. You sneak. You're a voiceover
I know,
artist.
we
She's
have to
great
just-
in a booth, but get it out.
She didn't want to talk anymore outside the booth. She's like, forget it.
Yeah.
But we do have to talk a little bit about what Genia does, because also her job
Do we
translates kind of. Yeah, I think it's important. Your job translates anywhere as well. Russell's was a little bit iffy, but you're an author. So let's talk
Right.
about what
I just
you
need
do.
my laptop. That's all I need is my laptop. That's what I do.
And how many books have you written?
I've written, I think, 5 or 6 novels.
And what are they about?
Oh, all different fiction. They're just all different things. Euthanasia, reincarnation, autism, anything that seems controversial and piques my interest.
Do you find
So.
this locale like flaring up different creative juices? Do you find where you are giving
Right
you
now,
an
I'm
impact?
writing educational material and it makes me tired. And so, no, I'm not feeling creative right now. But I'm wrapping up a project and I'm hoping that, you just need that idea that just makes you want to write, makes you want to wake up and write. And I haven't had that idea for a while because I'm writing other stuff.
Okay.
So
location
when this
doesn't
project
matter.
is over, seasons matter.
Ooh,
To me,
tell me about
fall
that.
is it's always been my writing because kids went back to school. It's starting to cool off a little.
Yeah.
And so here it's even better because it starts raining. And it's
What does the rain do for you?
It makes you go inside. And then I love writing in the rain.
Oh,
It's just the best, right?
I love hearing that.
I mean, don't most people love
I love getting cozy in the rain, but
yeah.
I'm not going to start writing.
Yeah,
I'm
we
gonna
watch
watch
Netflix in the rain.
So I want to hear about how you get inspired by the rain.
Yeah, just because you get to be alone and quiet and inside. And, it's just a perfect time. And then in the summer, it's like, that's not writing season. You're outside and you're doing stuff. So, yeah, I'm sure most creative people, whether they're musicians or writers or whatever it is, editors even, it's like, it's probably much easier to edit when the weather is not great.
Yeah, your other options are taken away. So, and
Yeah.
if you've been meaning to start tackling a new project, it's the perfect time.
Right.
That's the one thing
Yeah.
because living in LA, it's always good weather. But
Yeah.
moving up here, you really learn to you choose your seasons and what you're going to do. Like we said earlier off camera or off mic, that we do all we're doing all the house fixes during the spring, summer because the sun's out.
Yeah.
It's like
That was actually the only adjustment for us. Was
Oh,
the
tell me about it.
seasons.
yeah.
Well, just in the winter is really a creative time. Fall, winter is really creative. And you put off, painting the house and doing the yard work and all that because you really can't do it. And so then when that comes, you realize, okay, I have to put all the creative stuff on the back burner to get all this stuff that's been building up done. So, and I'm sure a lot of people in the country already had that, but from Southern California, that was so new to us.
Yeah, if you don't live in Southern California, then you don't realize it is sunny 10 months out of 12.
Oh,
At
growing
least.
up in Santa Barbara, my mom used to say, go outside. It's beautiful out, so she was always shooing us out of the house but we're never inside then.
Yeah, it's beautiful every single day almost.
This is why you don't leave, Genia. Your mom did it to you.
Yeah, that's probably true.
The one thing about her books are on Amazon.
I was going to ask, are you
Yeah.
published? Are you self-published?
I'm just self-published.
It's self-published.
Yeah?
It
She
was
went
too-
through a few agents. We talked about
Yeah.
that before.
Yeah.
And that's a difficult process, and that might be a
Sure.
whole other podcast for you guys.
I'm sure.
But the frustrating thing is her books, so the people that do get them are very well received, and she's like literally
I do have some nice
had
reviews.
emails
Okay,
and
well-
texts saying, "You've changed my life. This is the most important thing to me. I went through this, blah
Wow.
blah blah." But like we talked about, a lot of the crappy shows get made, but good shows don't. Or don't make it.
We were talking
So
about
it's
this.
frustrating for her because she's a very good writer and she's got really good books out there, but she couldn't get an agent that if it didn't sell in a month, she was done. And so she get another agent, and it
was a game.
it's a game.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it's
it's
terrible. A lot
frustrating.
of good movies, books, television shows, artwork undiscovered for no reason that any of us at this table could even explain.
I think it's artists in general, anyone creative, just like all of us here, really. You're the only true business person, I feel like, because you
Oh.
are creative, but then you are able to market yourself.
I have to run my business.
Marketing is hard for
I have to
creatives
hustle.
to work.
Yeah, I
their
was just
brain
going to say,
Yeah.
your story, harkening back to what you said earlier, is, as creatives, we don't really market ourselves as well as we could.
Right.
I have
So we're
to.
going to do it for you, Genia.
Yeah.
Thank
You're gonna
you.
put it like
I
links.
expect one
So
download.
do you write under your own name? Do you use a pen name?
Yeah, no.
Genia Stemper.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to put it in the liner notes of the show.
Yeah, no, really, we are.
Absolutely.
Really sweet. Thank you.
Everybody needs to
I
read
hope I
these
don't
books, damn it.
disappoint.
But the
Read
thing
books,
is, I
people. They
think-
make you smarter.
I think she was a little bit ahead of her time in a couple of the novels that might
Yeah,
have been before
for sure.
they were being well received.
Oh,
now,
ahead
I
of her
think.
time, you
So
said.
I think she often talks about revisiting, trying to market those again, because she talks about things that are a little bit of controversial.
I talk about it, but I'm not going to do it. Let's be fair. Marketing I don't want to spend my
It's
time
not the
that way.
aspect of
I don't want to
your.
spend my time
it's
that way.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
And most of the
hire
things she writes are
somebody.
cathartic for her too. I mean,
Denise will do it for you.
Yeah,
She's
there
going
you
to be in the
go.
car.
there you go.
Oh, yeah, okay. I'll just add it to the list of
So,
to-dos on my...
but that does bring up a theme, because we were talking about your daughter, Anica, who is a musician, and she's getting some
She's
traction.
beautiful voice.
And
So good.
Similarly, I'm sensing a pattern between me, the three of you, and it's the marketing aspect of it. She loves to perform. The marketing part is a grind. We'll put her
It
name in the
is.
show notes.
She
as well.
has to. She has to.
She's
really
on
gear up
Spotify. Her
even to
voice
post on
is
Instagram.
beautiful.
She really. Yeah, she has to be like, okay, I need to do another post. I haven't done a post in a month. Most
Wow.
people who are really wanting to get out there are going to post daily.
Daily.
Yeah.
And
Sometime-
she
10 times
just
a
would
day on
rather
their
be writing a
stories, yeah.
song.
Right.
That's
Right.
a true artist. That's such a between a rock and a hard place. That is a true artist. I know. She just wants to create.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's why people have managers and
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Absolutely.
and they're definitely, if somebody's handling your like Denise has somebody who handles her social media. So there comes a point in every day where Denise is a creative one. She's creating the videos and everything, but in terms of metrics and stats and all and followers,
And I don't have very many followers. I mean, honestly, like my business account only had 3,000 followers, which is nothing. I mean, for as long as I was doing it, but
a lot for a business.
I was impressed.
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
thank you. Well, that's so sweet. But I still I had a person that I employed for years to help me just when to post, the time to post, what music to use. I mean,
Yeah.
because there's only so much I can do in a day. I already had to learn how to become a photographer to take good photos of my work, which was so hard in itself. I had to buy a certain light to take the photos. And then now I have to become social media like guru. I mean, I just want to work. And
Yeah.
I can't do it,
So
everything.
for any of you parents out there who have young, aspiring social media gurus about to leave college, we have a couple projects.
We do. We have a music project and a book project.
That's right. That's right.
That
Both
is
in
a
the creative
That is
space.
a career. That
Yeah,
is a
for
career.
100%.
Absolutely.
There's
Oh my gosh.
degrees now. Social media marketing, social
Yeah.
media designer. Yes,
Yep.
absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. So, okay. Well, I guess we're going to wrap this up. Thank you again
Thank
for
you
having
both.
us.
Thank
We are
you.
so happy to be here. We were so happy to finally make real all that talk that you, Russell, and I have had over the last couple months about coming to visit. It's been a thrill to be in your amazing space.
Well, we were
Thank you.
excited
It's
to
true.
share it. I'm
Yes.
glad you guys
Thank you.
Nice to have you.
That's really huge coming from an introvert.
True.
She just
True.
gave me a dirty look.
Yeah, exactly. I think you did very well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Agreed.
And that's it. So we are going to leave the aforementioned items in the show notes. And one more time for the people at home, I want to make sure that I am not sending people to blueturtleproductions.com. That's a different episode. That's Skip Town After Dark. Russell, tell us the name of your company once again, please.
It's at blueturtlepromedia.com.
Go there, people. Look at the footage. Look at the excellent production work. I can't say enough about this guy. It's been a thrill to know you all these years.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. You too.
I want to thank wholeheartedly Russell and Genia Stemper once again for having us. On to the next episode. Thank you guys for listening. You know where to find us on social media, and we will see you next time. What do you say?
Empty nest, full tank.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.